had some technology issues, but we're here. We are ready to go. My name is Amy Miller. I'm a leadership coach and hiring advisor. My background is in executive recruiting and organizational psychology. Each week I hop on to do a live conversation on a leadership challenge or a leadership concept or organizational challenge. And I'm really excited this week to have a very special guest with me, Joe Licata, the founder of RepPath and the RepPath Academy and host of the RepPath Podcast, is joining us today. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, great to see you. I saw what's that on the side of your hair there?
Okay, so we're gonna address the elephant in the room right away.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yes, I didn't lose my mind. I actually it was my wife's birthday this weekend, and it was a 90s themed birthday. So I told her I'm going all in and I'm winning best costume at this party. So I went another level, and I went and got a haircut, obviously. And I got
Oh my
if
gosh.
anyone's back in the 90s, I got the lines on one side of my head, and then I got
Wow.
a heartbeat on another. So I did it for the party, but now I obviously have to live with this for the next several weeks, and I'm just going with it. So you can feel free to make fun. And I had a buddy the other day that actually was talking to me for like 5 minutes, and it was a serious conversation. And everyone else, they laugh, they go, "Oh my God, what you do?" And he's sitting there with a straight face, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, man." I go, "Are you not going to address my hair?" And he's like, "Honestly, man," he goes, "I haven't seen you in a while. I thought you lost your mind."
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
"No." So,
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad that I address it so you all know that Joe has not
thank you.
lost his mind. Joe and I have a lot of fun together. We actually worked together in the past, and we've hosted each other on our shows. So it's always a great conversation. And excited to be talking with you again today about our topic, which is the skills that get you the job are not necessarily the skills that get you promoted. So I understand a lot of what you focus on is helping aspiring medical professionals break into the industry and then also become top performers once they're in. Anything? Did I get that correct? Or
Yeah,
any?
100%. Yeah, we help them advance in their careers depending on wherever they're at. A lot of times, you have individuals that they want to break into the industry. Obviously, we have that with the RepPath Academy. But then after a year or several years, they're stuck or they're doing well and they want to do even better. And whatever your situation is, we'll work with you to help you advance in whatever capacity you're looking for.
I've been listening to your content lately. Really great. There's a lot you can learn
Thank
from Joe's content, so definitely check it out if you haven't yet. But I was pleasantly surprised to notice that there's a lot of crossover between what I talk about and work with new leaders on. So my work is helping new leaders step into bigger roles, and even leaders that are tenured step into bigger roles and have those challenging conversations and be able to show up intentionally, especially when we have pressure, which we often do in organizations. But there's a lot of crossover between what reps can do to become top performers and separate themselves, and what leaders can do to be highly influential and impactful. And so that's what I want to talk about today. One of the first thing that I want to talk about is self-leadership. I think that it's self-leadership. How can you lead a team if you're not leading yourself with some strong, I call them success habits in place. So what are some of the things, I'm curious your thoughts, that you see top performers do when nobody's telling them to do, when nobody's managing them? What are some of their habits and behaviors?
Well, I think one of the keys that all top performers, they own their own development. I mean, when there's a problem, yeah, they're of course they're not shy to ask for help, but they don't wait for things to happen. And I see that over and over. And you could start to recognize some of the younger talent out there that I can see it, before they even become a leader. I know that they're going to be future leaders. And some of the individuals that I've trained over the years who have become leaders, I'm not shocked. I could see it from a mile away because they're the ones that are doing things without being told to do something. And a lot of times it's with improving themselves, working on whatever challenge they're having and being self-aware first off. knowing that you have a problem or you need improvement in a certain area. So I think being humble and having that honest conversation with yourself, saying, "Hey, I'm struggling here," because I see that all the time with candidates trying to break in the industry. They keep doing the same thing and think things are going to change. And I
Mhm.
think in this environment, I know medical sales obviously, but just in the world that we live in, everything is so competitive that you have to be doing more to stand out, and if you want to get into leadership, you have to be proactive, and it doesn't matter what it is. You shouldn't have to wait for your boss to tell you to send them something. Like, you should be doing that proactively. It might not be the right thing all the time, but when your boss always has to reach out to you to get an assignment done or anything like that, that's a red flag. If they have to consistently do that, the high performers and future leaders that I work with, they're rarely told that. They're
Mhm.
always on top and being proactive.
So they're taking initiative. You mentioned learning. This is something I hear a lot about, just more and more about whenever I listen to or read about leadership content. Strong leaders, they're taking the initiative on their own to learn and to continue learning. And you mentioned being proactive and being self aware. So like getting curious about what yourself and maybe about yourself and maybe areas that you can improve. How important is it to lean into those situations that where you feel some fear of the unknown, you feel some discomfort? How important is it to do that? Lean into the discomfort rather than avoid it as an individual contributor who wants to become a top performer.
Well, I think discomfort is growth. I one of the analogies, because I'm like a Discovery Channel geek. I love National Geographic, all that stuff. And I remember years ago watching how a lobster grows. And I like this analogy because it's true in life. The way a lobster grows, like, you get a 1 pound to like a 10-pound lobster. They don't just grow overnight like that. They shed their shell. So what a lobster does, it grows until it's too big for its shell, and then it gets uncomfortable in that shell and sheds it, and then a bigger, thicker shell grows. And then when it gets big for that and becoming uncomfortable, it'll shed that shell and then grow a bigger shell. So the whole point for me that I learned is it's a lesson for life. You have to be uncomfortable if you want to grow. And I think anyone that's looking to get into leadership or any position in improving yourself, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to do things that you're not used to doing. I mean, even, Amy, you're being very humble that not mentioning that you were my life coach and got me started. So I want everyone that's listening to this, and I really mean it, that you were such a big part of helping me start RepPath, but get comfortable with a lot of the things that I was very uncomfortable with. I mean, people think I've been doing podcasts for years and I've been in the camera. The first time I even sent a LinkedIn post, I think, was when you were coaching me
Mhm.
and you were helping me use Canva to get some of my background settings and some of my posts set up, and like all those things that were completely foreign to me. And I would always say, I hate this crap. I hate social media. This is not for me. I'm too old for this crap. And it's just nonsense. It was me making an excuse because I wasn't comfortable. So
Uh-huh.
you really did help me get comfortable in a lot of those things when I got started. And now I kind of like the uncomfortable settings. Like, I like talking about subjects where I'm not the 100%, top line expert, but I want to learn in conversation too. So
Mhm.
uh, all those things, every time I had to give a presentation, all the things that we know deep down inside, you kind of want it to cancel because you don't want to get in front of a crowd. You don't want to do this podcast today because a lot of people are going to be listening. Like, those butterflies now motivate me and
Mhm.
make me want to get in those settings, because I know every time I do that, I get a little bit better and I grow a little more.
Absolutely. Yes. It's all about getting the reps in and yeah, listening to your content and watching you live. Yeah, you absolutely present like an expert. So nobody would know that, yes, there was a first time, and maybe you did have some fear there. And just like if you're a rep, like the aspiring reps that you're working with, when they have to go in with to a doctor, to a customer, and have those potentially difficult conversations, how do you encourage them to take a step and just do it and get comfortable in that discomfort?
Well, I think for me, you got to have the attitude, excuse my language, but like, who gives a shit, right? Like, it's who cares?
Yeah,
Like, what's the worst that can happen? You get rejected. And if you're uncomfortable with that, then that's a sign that maybe this isn't for you. Now,
hmm,
everyone's going to be uncomfortable. No one likes to get rejected. And at the beginning, it's awkward. But one of the things that you learn as you get older and the deeper you get into any position, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I just try to make them feel comfortable that, again, what's the worst that happens? And enjoy it. Have that as a almost like a badge of honor, like where you realize the more successful you get in your career, you have a lot of the horror stories that are like the foundation of what made you.
yeah,
We always hear about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan missed 9,000 shots in his career and they talk about all the failures, but again, it's Michael Jordan, the greatest ever. It
hmm,
made him who he is today. So a lot of times I challenge our students to go out there and when they say, Joe, I can't get in this hospital or I'm not going to ever see this doctor, I'm like, just come back with horror stories for me. I want to hear you come back with getting the rejections, getting your door slammed in your face, getting told off. Those are the things that are seem like are failures to you, but they're so much more important in the long run of building who you are. So just start recording those bad calls, start
hmm.
having those stories, because I'm telling you, even through the interview process or further in your career, it's something that you will wear, as like I said, as a badge of honor to say, this, I wasn't handed everything. I had to do these, tough things to get to where I'm at. I think it's just part of the building blocks that make you, who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about getting the reps in, getting the practice in. Because let's say you do become a top performer and then you're ready to get promoted and you move into leadership. Well, just because you get the title, that doesn't mean that you have all of the skill sets just yet, because you maybe haven't gone through a hiring process or given feedback to your team, someone that is not doing what you need them to do, or managing up and managing down is that sort of middle level of management where sometimes you have to speak up and ask that clarifying question before executing on a project. And so all of these situations, they seem like a small thing, but they can make us uncomfortable. There could be some fear there. So we can tend to want to avoid that discomfort. But you can get those reps in, even if it is imperfectly, just, practice, showing up and go navigating those, doing your best to navigate those difficult conversations as an individual contributor. Well, then you're building that skill set as a leader. So definitely cross over there. I want to talk about preparation and practice. You talk about on your podcast how you don't just show up to a potentially, hopefully, closing conversation with a customer. So how are top performers preparing differently than someone who's working up to that?
Well, in our industry in medical sales, I'm an open book. I'm very real about what really goes on out there. And, I've been in the field for over 20 years myself. I know some of the stuff that I used to do and still sometimes, get those lazy moments. But a lot of reps, they want to go out and they want to get their day done as quickly as possible because they're on their own. After that, they can go to the gym, they can go watch their kids play whatever sport, get their errands done. So you get in this rushed mentality where, again, you don't have to sit in and clock, and punch a clock till 5 o'clock at night. Whenever you're done, you're done. If you're performing, that's great. But the top performers, they use all the resources they can to better prepare for each calls. So instead of counting what you're doing in the day as I made 50 calls today, or I reached out, because a lot of times with networking, a lot of young candidates, they reach out to anyone and everyone, but there's no preparation. They didn't look up the physician's background. They didn't look up and see what types of procedures that doctor is doing, or maybe potentially, who else. has information about that doctor or that customer, you should be having all these conversations ahead of time before you walk in there, and then
Mhm.
just starts, spitting out features and benefits, and I think that that is key, that you should be spending more time in your prep than the actual call. So
Mhm.
it's similar to, an athlete. You don't practice for a half hour and then play a 3 hour game. You practice for 20 hours during the week to
Mhm.
play a 2 3 hour game. The practice should always be more intense than game day. There's a quote that Deion Sanders made, and I don't know who's a fan or not of Deion. I like Deion, a great athlete, but he did have a good point. He goes, you should practice like it's the game, so then when you get to the game, it feels like practice.
Oh, I
So,
like that. I
yeah,
haven't heard that. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a great, and it's so true though, because you should be doing it over and over. That by time game time comes, it feels like nothing. And
Mhm.
that's the way the call should go. When you're prepping in our world for a sales call, you should get in there and know, not be this is also getting back to our previous point about being uncomfortable. This is going to make you more comfortable. The more you prep, the
Mhm.
more comfortable you're going to feel, because that customer could come up with any objection and you're going to be ready for it. When you're not prepared, that's when everything starts to fall apart, because they're going to ask you something because you didn't prepare, you're not ready, and that's when you start sweating. That's when you give some nervous answers, and that's when your customer can see through that you weren't fully ready for this presentation today. And again, you'll learn your lesson, because the next time it's going to make you want to prepare it more, and each time you'll prepare more and more, and not rush that, because that is more important than the actual call.
Yeah. So a lot of taking that time to invest in yourself. We may not always want to do it, but that's time that you're investing in yourself, and then that's going to help you show up better. And we can't be prepared for every single possible scenario, but I like
No.
to always ask, okay, well, what do I have control over? What can I prepare for? And as a leader, you can ask yourself, okay, maybe you're going into a potentially uncomfortable conversation. All right, well, what's with the information that I have? How can I best prepare? And you talk about leveraging your resources, and that's really key as well. And as a leader, I think it's really important to sort of zoom out and leverage the resources on your team, and understanding, okay, who is strong here and who could use some help here, and how can I connect these folks together, and then who in the organization has this tool or this resource, so that we can remove obstacles as much as possible, and keep that momentum and everyone moving forward. So the similarity would be, get that practice in of leveraging your resources and investing yourself as an individual contributor. You mentioned not just showing up and spitting out features and benefits. How important is curiosity and listening when it comes to sales as an individual contributor?
I mean, that's everything.
Sorry, versus speaking and presenting. Of course, that's important too. But talk with me about what you see your top performers doing.
They ask more questions and they're speaking less in the sales calls. So that is like number one. It's the mistake that all young sales reps make. I did it. I still do it sometimes when when I want to get my pitch out or I don't have enough time. We get in front of people and just start talking, talking, and talking. And
Mhm.
one of the lessons that I learned, one of my first years in medical sales, I was selling spinal cord stimulation, and I was on my fourth call with this one physician, and I actually did two lunches. And then I was so excited that this guy was listening to me, because a lot of doctors were shutting doors or not letting you in. So
Uh-huh.
I just, again, rambling, just talking, verbal diarrhea for each call. And then finally on the fourth call, I finally asked him, do you do spinal cord stim? And he said, no, I haven't been trained yet. So here I was saying how great our leads were, how great our battery is. And I never even, and it was like, oh my God, wow, Joe, that was a huge mess up. And so what I suggest for everyone to do, try on your first meeting, if you really want to find out about them, and you really want to find out what their key drivers are, make sure that you're asking as many questions as possible to learn about them and what their key drivers are,
Mhm.
and don't mention your product. Hold out to mentioning your product longer and longer, and
Mhm.
you're going to see that's going to be the real gold, because you're going to die to go, yeah, but our product can do this and my product is that and this. But it's going to force you to ask more questions and learn more about your customer. The more that you can uncover their key drivers, then you can provide real value, because you can have 50 different features and benefits about your product. The customer could care about one. Why are you drowning it out by talking about all these other things? The only way to find that out is asking questions and
Hmm.
learning more about them. So I think that is by far the number one thing that separates high performers. They're curious and they have real curiosity. They don't just have a checklist of questions just to get out. They
Yeah.
genuinely want to figure out how they can help their customer more. But the only way to do that is by learning about what their challenges and obstacles that they're really having.
Yeah. In order to bring a solution, you have to understand the problem. You mentioned in one of your podcasts, and
We
I don't
lost
watch.
sound.
Oh, really? Oh no. Uh, I don't know why. The sound looks fine on my end. You can't hear me, Joe? Did you accidentally hit mute? We have to go in just a minute anyway, so I might have to close us out here because Joe.
Hold
Oh,
on. Hold on,
okay.
Amy.
I'll chat a little bit while Joe is coming back. We've been having a lot of technical issues, but
You're
we're both
good.
first today. You can hear me?
Now you're back. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
don't know what.
No, no
Sorry
problem at
about
all.
that.
I was listening to one of your podcasts and you mentioned four passes. So a sports analogy, which I don't watch sports, but I like hearing about sports and researching because there's a lot of great leadership in sports. And maybe it wasn't a real team. Maybe it was the movie that you were talking about, but four passes, make four passes before you shoot. So ask four questions before you share what you have to share.
Yeah, the reference was from the movie Hoosiers
Uh-huh.
with Gene Hackman in the '80s. So if anyone's ever seen it, obviously I'm showing my age by mentioning that movie, because I think it came out in '86. But it's an amazing basketball movie. It's one of the best sports movies ever made. But he tells his team, you can't shoot unless we pass four times as a team. And one of his players shoots right away and he takes him out. But the whole point, you take that same reference into the same analogy into real life, and force yourself to ask at least four questions before you go in there and shoot, AKA, present your product, and you'll
Yeah.
see you'll be more successful.
Yep, and curiosity can help you as a leader as well because it can help you better understand your team. You mentioned understanding the drivers of your customer before you can talk about understand how you can help them. Well, if you can get curious about and ask questions to better understand your team, well then you can learn what truly motivates them. And also connection is a human need. And so one way to connect with people is to get curious about them, ask questions. And curiosity can also really help in going into those potentially challenging conversations because if you get curious about, okay, what do I really want to know about this person and their world? What's something that they know that I don't that I can learn from? Well, it takes you out of your head, and then you're present, and then that's where you can have that connection.
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I know you have your own show coming up here shortly, so you have to hop off. I just want to point out, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that the from our conversation today is that if you want to get promoted, if you want to move into leadership, if you want to be more impactful and influential as you take on greater responsibilities, you can start practicing the skill sets that you're going to need to be successful doing that as an individual contributor in your role today.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that, if people that want to get promoted, do the things that no one wants to do. I mean, first and foremost, you have to make sure that everything about yourself is buttoned up, and you can't tell someone, how to be timely if you're not timely. If you're late all the time and you're telling you're going to start coaching people and telling them to be on time, or if you're not doing your own expense reports and then you're going to demand people to get their expense reports done. I mean, you got to make sure that you're ready to take on more. But once you are, start volunteering more. If there's a conference on a Saturday or Sunday, which nobody wants to do, volunteer for that conference. If there's a new individual on your team, offer your manager, that you're willing to help them out, and I'll do whatever it takes to help out others. And, always offer more to be a team player. And I know that that's something that, your numbers and performance are obviously very important, but when promotions are coming up and you really want to get into that leadership position, you can prove to them that you are a leader before you're in the role. And that's what the high performers do. They do whatever it takes to be seen as a leader before the opportunity arises, because they notice that. And when those opportunities do come up, those are the first candidates that they look for, because they've already been trying to prove themselves, as opposed to saying, no, I'm ready to be a leader. Well, where were you the past couple of years if you didn't offer all that? So that's definitely my, my advice for anyone looking to get into leadership.
Yeah, great advice. Better knowing yourself, understanding where you need a resource and where you can help, and offering that team support and help, so that before you have the title, so people are already starting to look at you as a leader. Well, thank you so
Absolutely.
much for coming on today, Joe. Tell us where we can find you, where we can learn more about RepPath, and I guess people can stay on LinkedIn, right, to watch your show coming up in about 15 minutes.
Yes, yes, thank you. So we do a podcast every Monday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We talk on all topics. It's not just breaking in, but also, again, topics to advance yourself in the industry and medical sales. If you do want to join the academy, we have, sorry about that.
Hi,
The
Miguel. That's Miguel.
yes, yes. You, you could go on repath.com, reppath.com, or you could shoot me an email, Joe, at repath.com, so you can learn more. And lastly, you can subscribe. It's 100% free to my YouTube channel, the RepPath Academy. So
And
either or, I'm here.
excellent. Thank you for that. I'll go back and drop those in the comments as well. We've got your website here. Thank you so much to our viewers and listeners for spending some of your day with us today. And just real quick, if part of what we talked about today around navigating those difficult conversations and leading intentionally, even when you feel that pressure, if that's something that you want to continue the conversation about, mark your calendar for a webinar I'm doing, Fear versus Intuition in Leadership Decision Making. That's going to be Thursday, August 20th at 12 p.m. We'll see you then, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Take care, Amy.